How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Hack/Night Funeral in Eminence. This is actually the backup story to Hack/Annual number 3. The main part of that book was, of course, the Hatchet crossover. However, this is a completely different story. No Victor Crowley in this one. Actually, no Cassie and Vlad either. This is a Chris and Lisa story, but it does deal with some ramifications that are super important to the rest of it. That's why in this omnibus, they actually broke it up from the Hatchet crossover and actually put it earlier in the book, which totally makes sense because this is the point in the story where you really should read this one. Now, I won't do any major spoilers for this story, although it is really short, but I will say in order to talk about this, I do need to talk about the events of the second annual as well as Crossroads. So if you haven't read Annual 2 or Crossroads, go read those first before you watch any of this, because right off the bat, we have to talk about a few big things. This short story is actually about the funeral of Sheriff Riley, and let me tell you, Omnibus 3 really did a whole lot with this character before she passed away. In Annual number 2, we found out that she actually worked with the Black Lamp Society, and when Libby gave us a view into that possible future, she killed her before she could deliver that message. But then in Crossroads, we got to see the guilt of killing someone weighing on her, and she decided to help out her friends. It's a great way to say the timeline's in flux again without getting the entirety of Libby's message across. And in turn, Cassie's not going to learn all that stuff about Sam quite yet. But I do like the idea of now we know we're definitely on a new timeline. Now things are up in the air, and maybe it was her turning that maybe saved Chris and Lisa. Maybe this is where they died in that old timeline. We don't know, but I do like we get this moment with Chris, because this is a book about Chris and his emotions and processing all this. The idea that he kissed her and no one ever found out about it and now she's dead. I mean, what can he do? How can he possibly process all this and how much this is going to weigh on him? It's a good moment with his character. It's a pause and rest that we definitely needed, and the idea of having this twist with a second secret night funeral really does serve to throw in a few extra things as well. Overall, I really am glad we got this moment with Chris and we got to watch him process. This is a beat that the story really did need, and it's great for his character. So overall, I love that if you're doing a backup story, you didn't just goof off with it. You gave us some good character building and a necessary pause. So really, really cool to see this issue. But if you guys want to see a little bit more, I'll switch to the close-up camera. I'll show you guys some of the story and some of the art. I'll try to be avoiding the end bits, so no major spoilers. But again, this is a really short one. I guess I just won't go that far into the night funeral itself. But anyway, without further ado, let's switch to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle, taking a closer look at Hack/Night Funeral in Eminence. Once again, we are inside Omnibus 4, and let's bring this closer to the camera. Here's the credit down here at the bottom, and we get to see that this was, of course, part of Annual 3. The script is by James Lowder, one of the few original Hack/ stories not written by Tim Seeley, and the art is by Jean Paul Deshong. If we pull this out, we can see the main part of the book, Hatchet/ is actually placed second to the end, right in front of another crossover, Hack/ meets Zombies versus Cheerleaders, so it looks like they saved the crossover stuff for the end, but yeah, moving this story forward, probably a good call. Keeps it in the right moment, you know? After that, we flip to the story proper, and you'll notice there's no cover image for this. Both of the covers for the annual featured Victor Crowley on them, so it'd be weird to have that here, and plus this story does have a prominent title right there on the first page, so not too bad. But anyway, after that, let's get into the story proper. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to break down and analyze a few plot points and show you guys a little bit of the art. I'll try to be avoiding the end bits though. But we open up with the funeral for Sheriff Riley, and the priest explains that the town thinks that it was some sort of eco-terrorist that gave all the animals the sort of rage disease. I wonder if that's a tribute to 28 Days Later. But they also say that they couldn't contact any of Sheriff Sheriff Riley's family, and we of course know the reason for that. But because she didn't really have any family members, they invite Chris, her best friend, to say a few words, and he is going to be in quite a dark place. You see, before she died, the sheriff said she wasn't really close with any of her co-workers, and pretty much everyone in here is just fellow cops, so no friends, no family, and just a bunch of people who are here for an obligation. Yeah, Chris is going to be a little bit cranky. No pun intended there. Lisa makes a joke about how she can never speed again because all the officers will be looking at her, but later on Lisa makes a point. Hey, I only knew her a little bit, and Cassie didn't really know her well either. You know, you can get mad at the fellow cops, but you know, hardly anyone actually knew this lady, and that's where you get this dark realization that this whole funeral, Chris is really her only friend, her only one that showed up, the only one that cared, and that's a dark thought to have someone else's funeral and it's really just you? Oh man. Well, Lisa decides to go home because Chris wants to stay, and he winds up staying there all night when a mysterious figure will show up. Turns out it's one of the bar friends, and he said, I figured you to be at the night funeral. And he says, what's the night funeral? And he says, well, it's a local tradition. It turns out in Eminence, the people who you know in a respectable manner will show up for the regular funeral, but the people you know that it wouldn't really be super polite for them to show up at your funeral, they all show up for the special night funeral, and that's going to be a lot of their bar friends, but needless to say, there's going to be a few surprise guests, but also, because of the nature of this funeral, Chris can talk a little bit more openly and discuss a few things about his relationship with Sheriff Riley. It's not necessarily the biggest, deepest conversation ever, but to actually get to talk and put it into words is something. But of course, there will be more at the end, a sort of dark element to this night funeral, and overall, I really do like it. I am glad that we did get a moment for Chris to kind of analyze what happened with Sheriff Riley, and now he's going to have to process a whole lot of this. Overall, a good issue, a moment I really am glad we got, and the whole idea of a special secret night funeral is a really cool concept. Overall, really like this one, even though it is a short little backup story. They did a lot with it, and I'm glad they didn't waste it. Good stuff here. Anyway though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my hack slash playlist. If you guys want to see me talk about past stories, you should be able to find them there. Anyway, have a good day. See you guys again very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.